Well, as the country awaits announcement of cabinet by President Cyril Ramaphosa, Parliament says its presiding officers will consult Ramaphosa on the date of the opening of Parliament. The joint sitting of the opening of Parliament will be held at the Cape Town International Convention Centre at a date yet to be determined. Parliament will also hold various sittings this week to establish some of its structures for the 7th administration. Now, the National Assembly will on Tuesday see the swearing in of members of the Umkhonto weSizwe Party. This after 58 designated MPs did not attend the National Assembly first sitting just over a week ago. Impeached Western Cape High Court Judge President John Hlophe will lead the MKP's MPs as its chief whip and parliamentary leader. In the ANC bench's corruption accused Zizi Kodwa will reportedly be sworn in as well. It is not clear if the step-aside rule will be applied to Kodwa as an MP. On Wednesday, both the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces will hold their rules committees. On Thursday, the NCOP will hold a hybrid sitting to elect a permanent deputy chairperson, a rotating deputy chairperson, a programming whip, and 3 House chairpersons. The NCOP will also elect permanent delegates to serve on the Pan-African Parliament, which will sit from this week in Midrand in Johannesburg. All right, let's get into this discussion now with political analyst Dr. Levy Ndou. He joins us now to weigh in on the dynamics around the government of national unity and the delays in the cabinet. Dr. Ndou, thank you so much for your time. I mean, it was never going to be an easy task for President Ramaphosa. Just in the formation of his cabinet, I mean, he needs to appease, for instance, the ANC, its alliance partners, and of course, the members of the GNU. Just what do you make, or what do you think, rather, is the biggest hurdle for Ramaphosa as he starts to craft his cabinet, just given the dynamics that we're already seeing within this GNU?
Good afternoon, Unati. Good afternoon to the viewers at home. Indeed, it was not going to be an easy task for President Ramaphosa to come up with his cabinet, but we all know why. There are negotiations that are going on, and some political parties have joined the GNU a little bit later, and that has a potential to affect the arrangement of whatever positions or responsibilities that are supposed to be given to the different political parties. I'm aware that most people could be having a lot of an anxiety about the announcement, because that is what all of us are waiting for. But I think also it could be a blessing in disguise that with thorough consultation, with many issues that are being raised that are supposed to govern the GNU, it could be good that such issues have to be dealt with now before an announcement is made. But what becomes primary in my view is that with thorough consultation and having as many views as possible, the president has a much better option to choose from based on all the positive ideas that would come after this long consultation process.
I want to talk about, what the outcomes of his cabinet would be, or in particular, the GNU, when it does formally gets announced, will be in terms of the impact at local government. But before I do that, of course, we just read a letter from the president himself. Of course, he does this every Monday. What can we read, in his letter? I want to just at least touch on the last sentence that we read out, saying that they need to demonstrate that they have a clear, coherent and sustainable program and their collaboration is genuine. And I'm particularly interested in the word genuine, given the dynamics that we are seeing already. We know, of course, that the DA and the ANC we're hearing are, not seeing eye to eye. And at this early stage, surely that is concerning, given the fact that this is a partnership that has to last at least 5 years.
Indeed, these are issues that could be informed by what has been going on when we look at different partnerships that political parties would have. It is also correct that some parties might be joining the GNU whilst they've got other hidden agendas that cannot take South Africa forward. Some parties can be joining the GNU because their party leaders have got best personal interest and not the interest of the whole nation. And also at the same time, the collapse of governance in many areas where there are coalitions should also have influenced the statement coming from the president. And I think our leaders have to demonstrate that they can be able to live beyond normal expectations and ensure that politics mattering as it is, they can rise above everything else and ensure that they create stability and service delivery. Another important aspect in my view is that if these political parties are able to sit down and develop a coherent program that is acceptable to all of them, indeed it will make it easier for the government machinery to run. But if you don't have genuine politicians or genuine leaders, we might also be heading for a disaster.
I want to talk about the MK party because, of course, all eyes will be on this particular party tomorrow as 58 of its members will then be sworn into Parliament, given the fact that they boycotted the first sitting of the National Assembly. Just looking at the dynamics with the MK party that it has with, just some of the members that are in the GNU. What are we likely to see, after the swearing in of this particular party, particularly, the dynamics that it has with several other parties that have already formed in the government, of national unity, particularly because some of those other members have now recently jumped ship from this party and its alliance or its caucus to go and join the government of national unity?
Well, I think the MK party, the first thing that they should do would be to come out very clear and indicate where they stand now that the situation with the Progressive Caucus has actually changed shape. But we do know that former President Jacob Zuma has indicated earlier that is going to be part of the Progressive Caucus. My sense is that even though the policy positions of the MK party are not very clear, I think the MK party should create an environment where they are able to outline their policy positions and their intentions as their members go to Parliament. But we also do know that the other members of the Government of National Unity appears not to be comfortable working with the MK party and the EFF. But my sense is that if there are open discussions and having to work in the interest of South Africans, anything is possible. We might still see the other parties sticking onto the Progressive Caucus or going to join the GNU. And that, in my view, would create an environment where these political parties will be able to find each other and work together in Parliament.
And just looking at, the makeup of what we're seeing on a national scale, I mean, the 10 out of the 18 parties represented in the National Assembly that have agreed now to form this government of national unity, collectively, they hold 287 out of the 400 seats. When we look at what's happening at local government level, I mean, probably the biggest test of what's happening nationally is how it will likely, in fact, affect local government level, do you think? I mean, when we look at what's happening currently in KwaZulu-Natal as an example, we know, of course, that the ANC is with the IFP and the DA, as well as the NFP. In Gauteng, we also know that the DA was instrumental in, of course, seeing through that Panyaza Lesufi is elected premier. How are those dynamics that we are seeing nationally going then to impact on our local government structures?
Well, there are two options that politicians have to choose from. To deal with the issues of the general elections separately from those of local government, or therefore decide to include the governance of local government. And my sense is that if they separate the two, whatever is happening at local government will remain as it is, and they will only have to focus on what is happening at national and provincial level. But if the dynamics and the discussions now at national and provincial level will have to affect local government, this will create a situation where there could be a lot of changes which would have an implications on the stability of local government. And this is one area, in my view, that our leaders have to look at very, very carefully. But with the delays in the appointment of cabinet by the president, this, in my view, should call for electoral reforms so that this kind of a situation should be avoided. And there are many options that we can look at in terms of how can we change our electoral reforms so that we do not have the kind of frustrations that we're going through right now.
Dr. Ndou, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Political analyst Dr. Levy Ndou there for us, of course, as the country awaits that crucial announcement of a cabinet by President Cyril Ramaphosa. It's not yet clear when that will happen at this stage.